Visit any supermarket or sweet shop and you will be surrounded by a mouth-watering array of boiled sweets, chocolates and biscuits. The comforting sweetness of a childhood favourite can be enough to transport even the bitterest of grown-ups back to simpler, more carefree days. We all have a memory or story involving our favourite sweet treat. But what is the story of those who made and manufactured these edible delights? And what is their connection to our own little borough? In this short series, we are going to be looking at the confectionery industry in Calderdale and how it grew from humble beginnings to form part of a burgeoning industry that is now worth approximately £3.7 billion to the UK economy.
Now, let me introduce you to one of the largest family-owned confectionery companies in England. They are the company who have given us some of our firm favourites such as Yorkshire mixtures, humbugs and voice tablets. I am of course talking about Joseph Dobson and Sons Limited of Elland. The Dobson story starts in 1850 when Joseph Dobson and his wife Eleanor arrive in Elland to claim Joseph's inheritance. Their move will not be without complications, however, because upon arriving in Elland, the Dobsons discover that the solicitor who was supposed to be acting as trustee has absconded with their money, leaving them with some land and a few buildings. Despite this obvious betrayal, the Dobsons decide to stay in Elland and set up a business producing bridal cakes and funeral biscuits. The couple would continue to run their business and raise their 7 children. That is, until Joseph's death on the 20th of November 1885, aged just 56. He is succeeded in business by his sons Robert Henry, William Charles and Thomas John. The 1890s will see Dobsons introduce conversation lozenges. These were boiled sweets that had moral values such as "Take ye not to strong drink" and "Honour thy parents" inscribed on them, and they were scented with violet, rose or vanilla. Now, at this point in time, the majority of the boiled sweets on the market contained ingredients with medicinal properties and were therefore marketed as remedies for various ailments such as sore throat and the common cold. Dobsons would enter this market between 1890 and 1900 with the introduction of the iconic voice tablet, which would continue to be manufactured and enjoyed well into the 21st century. Dobsons is now well on its way to becoming a household name. The year is now 1913, and what started as a small family-run business has now become an incorporated company. History is littered with examples of accidental inventions, and this is what happens when, in 1920, Thomas John Dobson falls down the stairs whilst carrying a tray of freshly made boiled sweets. Somewhat predictably, his trip sends the sweets he was carrying into complete disarray. Now, most of us would have grumbled about the mess, but not Thomas John apparently. Upon seeing the jumbled sweets, he is inspired to create the now world-famous Yorkshire mixtures. The company would continue to grow and in 1930 would open its shop in front of its factory in Northgate, where it would remain until 1952 when the shop was moved to Southgate. The Second World War would bring untold hardship and difficulties for all businesses. And for confectioners such as the Dobsons, the most significant hurdle would be sugar rationing. Introduced in 1942, sugar rationing would severely limit how much the company could manufacture, which would lead to some tough decisions about which products to discontinue. Now, the government at the time would attempt to de-ration sugar in 1949, but a surge in demand would lead them to have to reimpose sugar rationing. So sugar rationing, therefore, would remain in place until 1953, but as with every other challenge, the Dobsons would meet it with their typical determination and resilience. I don't know about you, but when I think of boiled sweets, I tend to think of an old world sweet shop staffed by a jolly man in a white apron, surrounded by shelves full to bursting with glass jars of boiled sweets. What I don't tend to think of, though, is large supermarket chains. Yet, when you think about it, this is where many of us will routinely purchase our treats of choice. Of course, unlike me, Dobsons understand this, which is why in 1979 they start to supply supermarket chain Morrisons with some of their more popular lines. 1999 would see Dobsons purchase Ryburn lollipops. This would result in the production of Ryburn's products moving to Elland, as well as Dobson's increasing its range of products. The new millennium would bring many changes and innovations to Dobson's. Not only would they continue to extend their product range, they would also expand their business. Their expansion would start in 2010 with the expansion of their business premises, then continue in 2013 with the purchase of a second factory in Elland. Like many other successful businesses, Dobson's would continue to expand into cyberspace, with the introduction of its Twitter, Facebook and Instagram pages in 2017. And then in 2018 with the launch of its website, allowing customers from across the UK to browse and purchase their Dobson's treat of choice. Throughout the early 2000s, consumers would become increasingly aware of the health risks posed by excessive sugar consumption and demand more sugar-free alternatives. Dobson's would respond to this demand by introducing sugar-free ranges in 2017. It's now 2021 and Dobson's is still going strong and producing sweets and lollipops that delight people from all walks of life. In fact, Princess Eugenie's wedding favours were manufactured and supplied by Dobson's. Now, over the 171 years that Dobson's have been in business, countless other family-run businesses have either been bought out, taken over or liquidated. Dobson's, on the other hand, are still owned and managed by direct descendants of Joseph and Eleanor Dobson, making it one of the largest family-run confectioners in the country. Perhaps a big part of their success is their ability to move with the times and respond to changing consumer habits, whilst retaining their unique identity. And for me, nothing is more indicative of this than the company's decision to remain firmly rooted in the community where it all started, Elland.